Nintendo.
And I'm Sega.
This is Console Wars!
Did we lose him? He's still on us.
Look! The exit!
He's catching up. We're never gonna make it.
Wait! Have an idea? Business cards!
Good call. It worked! Bateman can't resist business cards!
We made it!
So, how was it?
How was it?
Yes, how was your magical journey into a book? A book that I, the Pagemaster, sent you into.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, of all the books, why would you send us into American Psycho?
Okay, I may have slightly miscalculated.
You have any idea what we're gonna do to you?
Let's be guessed, you're going to pound my face, break every bone in my body, and then you're going to drag me across a gravel road and feed my remains to a warthog. Is that about right?
What are you, nuts? It's the 2020s. We're gonna try to cancel you.
Well, boys, no need to be hasty. Let's have a redo. I'll send you into a good book this time.
No more.
No, you know what? Matter of fact, no more books at all. Can you put us in video games?
Ooh, yeah, that would be cool.
Well, that could be tough, because I am the Page Master, not the Game Master.
I don't know, maybe learn? How hard can it be?
I'd hate to see somebody trending on Twitter.
Alright. I'll read some books and figure out a way to put you boys into some video games. Done!
There goes the Pagemaster.
Pagemaster. Hey, you know what that reminds me of?
Is it Pagemaster?
Wow, yes! Man, it's like you're in my head sometimes. It's so wild.
I watched the movie, but I played the game more.
Yeah, me too. You know, I played it all the time. Well, for the Sega Genesis.
Right, but it was definitely better for the Super Nintendo.
What? That's it! I ain't doing this!
Is the oldest brewery in the world today the Weihenstephan Brewery in Freising, Germany, founded in 1040? Yes.
Best Pagemaster.
Pagemaster is an action platformer based on the Macaulay Culkin movie of the same name. Released in conjunction with the film in 1994, it was developed by Probe Software and published by Fox Interactive.
A version for Game Boy was released, but today we're looking at the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games. While they look almost identical, there are many differences. Which one's better? Let's find out.
Like most games based on movies,
These games look almost identical.
For games based on a somewhat obscure 90s movie, they actually look pretty good. Your main character looks just like Macaulay Culkin's Richard Tyler. Other characters from the movie show up too, either as allies or enemies. Character animation is incredibly fluid too. In terms of characters and animations, this is one of the better looking games in 16 bits. And they look the same for both games.
The levels are also based on locations from the movie. You have worlds based in horror, adventure, and fantasy. The horror stages take place in a dungeon or the spooky outdoors. Adventure takes place on boats or on shore. Fantasy takes place on the Golden Brick Road, various locations inside a dragon, and beanstalks. Again, they look very similar in both games.
I mean, it looks similar.
Yeah, but come on. Two games that look almost the same. You know what we gotta talk about? Cropping.
This is another case of two games looking the same, and the Super Nintendo version is cropped. Not only that, you got some black bars on Super Nintendo. If you want to see the whole picture, play the Sega Genesis version.
And if that wasn't bad enough, your game's missing animations.
There's more animations on Sega. Watch Blackbeard getting hit on Sega. And on Super Nintendo, he's acting like he's not getting hit at all. Plus, check out Richard sliding down this pole on Sega. It's a pretty sweet animation. Not only does the Super Nintendo not have that animation, you can't slide down poles at all. Now to the levels. The background of this level has moving waves on Sega. On Super Nintendo, the waves don't move at all.
The game's missing a lot.
My game's missing a lot? Let's go to the levels.
You can see the difference with the very first stage. Check out the foreground on Super Nintendo. You see these transparent chains that add to the horror aesthetic. On Sega? Nothing. No chains. And it's not just the first level. Many levels on Super Nintendo have effects not on Sega. The Super Nintendo game has fog, a vignette, and rain. Many instances on the Super Nintendo game of doing more. And it's not just cool effects in the foreground, the background is also much more detailed on Super Nintendo. You see this dungeon window on Super Nintendo? Don't have anything in the Sega background. Clouds in the Super Nintendo background? No cloud on Sega. Look at the detail in the background on this Super Nintendo level. Just black on Sega. Fun.
It's not just the regular levels. The bonus levels look better on Super Nintendo too.
The background of this clock bonus level has a gradient effect on Super Nintendo. Nothing on Sega. This bonus level on Super Nintendo uses Mode 7 to rotate. On Sega, that bonus level just scrolls. The ground is also more detailed on the Super Nintendo and constantly changes. It's just the same thing over and over again on Sega.
You might be missing some things, but overall, the Super Nintendo game has an edge with graphics.
For having more going on in the foregrounds, more detailed backgrounds, and better looking bonus levels, best graphics go to Super Nintendo!
There's not much in terms of presentation.
Fairly simple games.
Both games have the same title screen, the same title cards for each level, and the same simple endings.
The map for both games is a book, because, you know, Pagemaster. And the HUDs are very minimalistic. You have your number of lives, tokens, and power-ups. That's it.
Very similar, but my game has things yours doesn't.
Back to the overworld maps. On Sega, it actually says the name of the level in the book. On Super Nintendo, it doesn't say anything. Now check what happens when you beat a level on Sega. Level complete. It doesn't say anything on Super Nintendo, you just see the title card again. Now to the 3D bonus stage. When you beat it on Sega, you get this screen. On Super Nintendo, no screen. No picture of Macaulay for you. Now to the endings. The good and bad endings actually look different on Sega. On Super Nintendo, it just uses the same picture. The only difference is a few sentences in the credits.
You really think your presentation's better? My game has so much more.
Did you know that all the stages have names? Well, you wouldn't know if you played the Sega game. No names on the map, or when you start the level. On Super Nintendo, however, you do see the stage name on the map. You see it again when you start the stage. It might be silly, but it helps the level feel more unique. Even the bonus stages are named something on Super Nintendo. On Sega, nothing.
And one more thing.
Both games have library cards. Get them all and get the good ending. Here's what happens when you find one on Super Nintendo. You see a picture of the card and you're told how many more you need. What happens when you pick up a library card on Sega? Nothing. They don't tell you how many more library cards you need. You gotta keep track of it in your own head like an animal.
Both games are missing things, but the Sega's missing more.
For having names for all the regular and bonus stages, and having a helpful library card screen, best presentation goes to Super Nintendo!
Lots of similarities with sound.
Let's start with the music.
Both games have music and sound effects by Steve Collett and Nick Stroud.
Tracks sound pretty good.
Yeah, but you're missing music.
Let's talk about the ending. On Sega, the music that plays is the same music from the title screen. Super Nintendo, on the other hand, has this play during the ending. Then the credits is a whole new song entirely.
Well, your game's missing music too.
When you beat a level on Sega, you get a little jingle. On Super Nintendo, nothing.
So, that song's like 5 seconds.
And your song during the ending is just like one note.
Still, I have a new song during the credits.
Well, it's not over yet, because now we're going to talk about the sound effects.
The sound effects are much better on Sega. They're a lot cleaner. Listen to taking out an enemy on Sega. It's pretty satisfying. Now Super Nintendo. It's kind of weak. The Sega game also has a lot more voiceovers. Here's a ghost on Sega. On Super Nintendo, silent. The main character says a lot more in Genesis too. Here's when you get a library card on Sega. My library card! Nothing on Super Nintendo. Here's when you're in danger on Sega. Nothing on Super Nintendo. But you know what's not weak on Super Nintendo? Landing. It sounds like a bomb. Sega game doesn't have that ridiculous sound effect.
The music's pretty much the same, but my game definitely has an edge with the sound effects.
For having an exclusive song when you beat a level, but for having more sound effects which are much better in quality, best sound goes to Sega Genesis. My library card!
Very similar gameplay.
Very simple games.
This game is an action platformer. You have one button to jump and one button to use your weapon. You have power-ups you can collect along the way. There's magic shoes which allow you to jump higher and rebound off walls. There's sticky hands. This lets you cling to ceilings. And there's different weapons depending on the world you're in. Bag of eyeballs, pirate sword, or magic dust.
You don't have a life bar. Instead, the power-ups you collect help you survive. Every time you get hit, you lose a power-up. If you get hit without any power-ups, you die. Luckily though, the shoes can be retrieved again. You just gotta catch them before they disappear.
Other power-ups include a helmet for temporary invincibility. There's tokens, which you get 100, you get a 1-up. There's a book token to play the 3D bonus game, library cards you need to collect for the good ending, and 1-ups.
There are also objects you can lift in order to get out-of-reach items or platforms. There are also other bonus levels. Some are timed, and some are just to collect tokens.
The game is made up of 3 worlds: horror, adventure, and fantasy. Each level has multiple stages. You go from stage to stage on a world map. It's not linear. There are multiple paths you can take. There are even some stages that are hidden. You can even replay a stage after you beat it. This is useful for getting power-ups and making sure you get all the library cards.
The game's not too difficult if you have a weapon and take your time. Stages are fairly short. You do have checkpoints in the longer stages. You also have unlimited continues, but you do start from the very beginning of the level, and you have to get all the library cards again. Very simple games that actually do have a little replay value with the multiple paths and endings.
Very similar.
But there are some differences with the bonus levels.
Like we said before, the 3D bonus levels are different. The Super Nintendo turns in different directions. On Sega, it just goes forward. You need to avoid objects in both. On Super Nintendo, you can take hits as long as you have enough fairy dust. And once you die, it's over. On Sega, you get hit once, and you die. Die 3 times, and it's over. On Super Nintendo, the bonus level starts as soon as you find the power-up. On Sega, it starts once you beat the stage.
There's also a difference when it comes to finding the other bonus levels. For the collection bonus stages, you need to find hidden books in both games. For the timed bonus level, on Super Nintendo, you just get this clock power-up. On Sega, it's still find the hidden book. The levels themselves, though, play the same.
That's both games in a nutshell.
Right, but my game's better. My game has enemies that yours doesn't.
The Sega game has 2 enemies missing on the Super Nintendo. This Pan the Piper guy, and this deadly flower. The Sega game also has an exclusive boss fight. You go mano a mano with Dr. Jekyll's Mr. Hyde. It's missing completely from the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, let's talk about those exclusives.
That Piper and Flower barely show up, and you can't even kill them. Not missed at all. And your Mr. Hyde boss fight is really lame. First off, he's a regular in almost every horror stage, so he's not exactly exclusive to Sega. Second, somehow in your exclusive boss fight, he's easier. You know why? He can't hurt you. At all. What kind of boss can't hurt you? Actually, it's kind of annoying to fight him. You can't use your weapons, you have to jump on him, a lot, so instead of being some welcome variety, it becomes this annoying chore that just takes up your time.
At least my game has some variety.
How about I tie your legs to a cement block and throw you into Stone Harbor?
What?
Oh, sorry, it's from a parody video I watched.
Oh.
If that's variety, I don't want it. Besides, I have something in my game that's way more useful.
The Super Nintendo has an exit sign. Might seem silly, but it's very useful. Having an exit is a nice way of knowing you've reached the end without moving on. This allows you to explore and collect whatever you need, like library cards, without worrying about accidentally going on to the next level. Once you beat the last stage on Sega, it's on to the next world. No last chance to explore. If you missed any library cards, too bad. Plus, the exit sign was a plot point in the movie.
An exit sign? There's not that much you need to explore in these games. And besides, your game's missing something else.
The Sega game has the ability to pan down. Not sure what's below you? No problem. Just hold down. No jumping blind on Sega. The Super Nintendo, on the other hand, can't pan down. Yeah, good luck taking those leaps of faith.
The games are easy enough to beat without having to scroll down. Plus, I have something you're missing.
On Super Nintendo, when you exit a level, you get a bonus 3D stage. Lets you collect lots of tokens for the next level. On Sega, no bonus stage. Just on to the next level. Plus, even if you don't beat a bonus stage on Super Nintendo, you get to keep any tokens you collected. If you lose the bonus stage on Sega, you get nothing. Good day, sir!
So you got an extra bonus stage. Big deal. My game has a lot more variety.
Most of the levels are just about getting to the end. However, there is some variety. Both games do have a level where you need to collect all the tokens before you can beat it. But the Sega game has even more variety. There's a level on Sega where you need to beat a certain number of enemies. There's also 2 levels that scroll automatically. The Super Nintendo doesn't have any of these. More variety on Sega.
A little variety's nice, but you know what's even better? A password.
Exclusive to the Super Nintendo game is a password. You get one after Horror World and another after Adventure World. And not only does it start you at certain levels, the passwords include any power-ups and lives. You're basically saving. Another thing you don't have to worry about is the library cards. The password includes them too. You don't get any of that on Sega because there's no password. Nothing. Gotta beat the Sega game in one shot. Give me the game with the passwords any day.
It's close. Both games are missing things, but the password really gives Super Nintendo the edge.
For being more explorer-friendly with an exit sign, for bonus stages between levels, and most importantly, having a password, best gameplay goes to Super Nintendo!
Both games are very similar, but one is better, and that's Pagemaster for the Super Nintendo!
It has better graphics with more going on in the foregrounds, more detailed backgrounds, and better looking bonus levels. It has better presentation for having names for all the regular and bonus stages and having helpful library card screens. It's lacking in the sound effects department, but it's fine when it comes to music. And it has better gameplay for being more explorer-friendly with an exit sign, for bonus stages between levels, and having a password. Both games are flawed, both games are missing things. But overall, the Super Nintendo game has more. Best Pagemaster goes to Super Nintendo!
Why did we play those games again?
Because of me.
Oh, the Pagemaster's back. Better hide this.
No, I am no longer the Page Master. Now, I am the Game Master.
Ooh.
That's right. Now I can put you in any video game.
What? That's great! We have piles of games right there!
Yeah, one for him and one for me.
Okay, in you go. I'm pretty sure I sent them into the right games.
He put us in the wrong consoles.
Alright, come. No, do the thing, man! On Super Castlevania, you can whip in every direction. And Sega, I guess, just can't get it up. Ridiculous.
Huh. This is kind of dumb and pointless.
Yet I can't stop doing it. Oh. Uh-oh. I don't know how to play!
So how'd I do? No score? What am I even fighting for? Hey, Billy Kane! What's going on, man? What are you doing up there? Ah, that's right. You can't play as you on Sega.
Fight! I could take this guy out. Just gonna jump to the other plane. Just gonna jump to the other plane. Just jump to the other... Ah, I can't do it in Super Nintendo. Ah!
Optic Blast. Optic Blast. I said Optic Blast. The hell? I have an energy bar for this? That's my thing! I guess I'm just an X-Man sometimes.
Optic Blast! You gotta be kidding me! Optic Blast! Why are these controls not working? Optic Blast! Ugh!
Oh my god, these controls are terrible! I can't even steer! What is that awful noise? It sounds like somebody literally scratching my brain.
Slingshot does nothing. Slingshot does nothing! Slingshot does nothing! Ah!
Come on, I can't just grab the ledge? The exit's right there. Yeah, at least I got this cool sword.
No sword!
So, how was it?
How was it? You put us in the wrong games!
Yeah, you're done, mister. I'll go on IGN, you go on Kotaku.
Oh, I'm there! I'm there! Hard!
Boys, don't do that. Hey, I'll tell you what. What if I put you in one more game? This game.
Custer's Revenge? That's like one of the most offensive games out there.
And like super sexist.
Not to mention incredibly racist.
Okay, I get it. You don't want to go.
Well, not exactly. I mean, it is part of gaming history.
Right, and we are history buffs, and you can't view things from the past through a modern lens.
Right, it was a different time. It was the 80s. I mean, look at Fisher Stevens and Short Circuit.
Al Pacino and Scarface.
9 to 5.
Soul Man.
Am I hearing a yes?
Yes.
Done! Let's see who gets cancelled now. Bitches.
Thanks for checking out our latest video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Support us on Patreon for earlier releases, bonus content, and the Discord. And check out our live channel, Console Wars Live. Special thanks to Roomba Floorvac for the donations of the games. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Console Wars goodness. Later!
Get in there, you. Ah.